Is your team not performing well? Is morale low and turnover high? Are you falling further behind the competition? I'm here to help. I'm your host, Shani, and this is the Leadership Show, where business strategy and culture finally meet, and we make the long-awaited shift from rhetoric to results. I promise I'm not your typical boring leadership consultant, and I will help you get your shift together. Let's do this. Hello, Leadershifters. Shani back at you today, and boy, do I have a treat for you with today's guest, Gloria Mayfield Banks.
Hey, Shani, I'm so excited to be with you. I was just saying right before we got in, I was like, I'm very excited about this topic, and I'm very excited about people that I know loving this topic.
Excellent. Well, let me tell Leadershifters a little bit about you. I want to brag on you a little bit. So Gloria is a new friend of mine. We were introduced through mutual business connections who thought we would just get along really well. And I think a lot of her messaging and the work that she's doing is very well aligned with the things we talk about in leadershiping. So, her nickname is Energy in Motion. And even though she has a little case of laryngitis, I think we'll get a good sense of her whirling dervish kind of energy today. Gloria is a speaker, a sales trainer, author of a book called Quantum Leap. She does a podcast called Women Do It Better and a show called Super Bad All Day Long. And I'm sure I've left 100 things out.
No, you hit the main ones. You hit the main ones. I know over our course of time, we'll probably cover everything, but I'm very excited about those things that you just mentioned.
Great. Well, what is the most exciting to you right this moment? Not right this moment, but in this time of your life?
Well, I think when I think about leaders and shifting as it relates to what your message is and the starvation that people have for what you're bringing to them, and what I'm doing right now is really understanding to help people craft their story. I am very much in line with teaching people the benefits of developing their courage so that they can build the confidence, so that they can expand their choices. Because I think everybody's on this a journey called better. They're never on the journey towards destination, but they're on a journey called better. And so when I think about how we can improve ourselves, that we're leading ourselves and we're leading those that are around us.
I love it. And I love that you frame courage as expanding your choices.
Yes.
Right? As opposed to just courage for courage's sake. And
right.
If people would put the filter on of like, oh, you know what, if I get over my fear and have the courage to take this step, it's about expanding my choices.
Major.
A lot of people frame fear as fear of failure.
Yes. Yeah, it was so funny because when I started my entrepreneurship with Mary Kay Cosmetics, people would talk about fear of success. I said, who could possibly be afraid of success? For real. And then I became very successful. I'm like, oh, I understand the expectation. But when I've built my business and as I continue to build others to duplicate what I've done, leadership is all about creating more leaders.
Yes.
And I just used to always wonder, I'm sure you guys can relate to this, what's the it factor? What's the it factor between those who are successful and those who are becoming successful, those who never meet their level of expectation, and kept coming back as confidence. So I realized that how much confidence dynamic, because I am a very confident person, but I've always worked on my confidence. I get to another level, I have to work on it again. I get to another level, I have to work on it again. But in order to move into the next level, I had to develop my courage, which put me in a position so that then once I was in that position, what everybody would smell from me was my confidence. And that confidence caused the choices.
Okay. And so for people who are watching who say, I don't have the same kind of confidence that these two women on the screen have.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about you work on your confidence. What does it mean to work on your confidence? Because a lot of people just think it's bullshit. Let me listen to another Tony Robbins tape and I'll have confidence. But we know that's not what it is.
It's not. And there is a there's a difference between motivation and education, and both of them are really necessary. If you have education without motivation, that's a problem. If you have motivation and no education, that's a problem. But if you are understanding the power of confidence, when I teach about how to create and build your confidence, the first thing I tell people is they have to be intentional about their confidence. Like you're intentional about everything else. You can walk into a room and you could be quiet or demure or have your posture like this or shake hands with the fingertips, which is the most irritating thing in life, not looking at people in their eye, speaking so low that people keep saying, what you say, what you said, what did you say? What did you say? I always tell people that if they say, what did you say? That means they can't hear you. Okay. Yeah. So there's a way in which you can totally be intentional about your confidence. Number two is understanding that building your confidence is not something that you should be ashamed of or you should cover up. You should be very loud about it. You get into a new position, you're rebuilding your confidence. I tell people it's just as easy if you start a new job and you go to a new building on day one, you may not know where the bathroom is. You don't know where everything is. You don't know what's downstairs. You don't know how quickly the elevators come. You're not as confident in your surroundings. Now, see you 6 months later. Someone says, can you tell me where the bathroom is? You don't even lift up your head. You're like, it's down the hallway. No. You have a total different amount of confidence. You go to another building. For the building, you're building confidence. But what you're bringing, you may not. So confidence is dynamic. Yeah. And the areas that you need it in is also dynamic.
Love that. So to build confidence, leader shifters, motivation and education. Right. And with the combination of those two things, you got to be intentional about it, and you got to practice it and know that the familiarity, just like anything, comes with time and being a dynamic learner.
Right. I want to add one thing, Shani, which is really important because this is about women and men who want to shift in their confidence. When I tell people that you copy the right cat, it makes a difference. It's okay to copy if you copy the right cat. So you watch those who are confident and you watch how they act with their confidence, because it's not boisterous. It's not ego driven. You don't have to be super loud. There's a lot of different personalities to confidence. And so they will create their own confidence. But understanding how critical it is causes people to increase their confidence immediately.
I love that. Copy the right cat. Yeah. And I among the many leadership topics that I teach pretty regularly, one of them is leadership presentation skills. Yes. And one of the very first things that I say to a classroom full of leaders is presentations, like, get out of your mind that this is about standing in front of a room with a pulpit and a PowerPoint. That is one of many different contexts that you need to consider a presentation. I said, anytime you open your mouth, that's a presentation, because you are influencing other people, and people are always making assessments and judgments about how you show up.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And presentation is a big deal. And presentation has nothing to do with the number of people that you're around. It has to do with who is in front of you, whether it's one person or 15 people or 15,000 people. Absolutely. I love that. I love that.
So I want to switch gears and talk about your career and your rise through the ranks at Mary Kay. And I just happened to know that there was a Harvard Business School case study done on you. So if it's appropriate to give us the punchline of that, and what made your story so compelling is to have an HBS case study, because that's pretty damn impressive.
Thank you. Thank you. I know it was so funny when they called me and they said, Gloria, we want to do a case study about you. I was like, about me? They said, yes. They wanted me to do a case study. They had me come to the school and present at Harvard. And if you've ever been to Harvard Business School, they sit in that round classroom and they have visitors all the time. So no one knew when they were going over my case study that they were talking about me. So they talked about me, I know, for almost 90 minutes.
In the third person, and there you are.
Yeah, it was hilarious. And they brought me down and they said, I want to introduce you to Gloria Mayfield, at the time, Gloria Mayfield. And I want you guys to know that she's a graduate of the school, and she'll probably make more money than most of you sitting in this room. and you've been talking about her for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
So it was hilarious. I will tell you that when I sat at Harvard Business School, I had no idea I was going to be an entrepreneur. I had no desire to be an entrepreneur. I was extremely focused on the C-suite. I wanted to bust through the glass ceiling until I found out it was brick. Wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
So my story in a short nut was I'm from Detroit, Michigan. I'm third of four girls, brought up in a phenomenal household, where my parents put a lot of attention towards our self-esteem. And so then I found out in the 7th grade I'm dyslexic. So I have a reading disorder. I pushed through anyway, went to college, moved to Boston, worked for Polaroid Corporation in manufacturing, was there for 2 years, thought maybe that wasn't for me. Went to graduate school, applied to Harvard Business School. My sister and myself are the only 2 African-American women sisters who've attended Harvard Business School.
Wow.
It was so hard. It was the hardest thing. It was hard, but I stuck with it. I can talk about it, but some major humbling experiences there. Graduated from there, started working for IBM, became one of their top sales rep for them, and used to sell the big $4 million computers. And just a lot went on there. Walked away from IBM at a time when people thought I was crazy. And that's where I really understood the power of courage. Because courage happens when you know you're doing the right thing and a lot of other people don't understand what you're doing and you do it anyway, and you're willing to fall and you get back up anyway, because you know once you learn how to deal with courage, you know that because it's dark sometimes, it's not dark forever.
Yeah.
So I left there and took a job with Stratus Computers as a marketing manager. A girlfriend invited me to a Mary Kay skincare class. I saw what was going on in that Mary Kay skincare class because I wanted to make some extra money because I was going to go through a divorce.
Okay.
Because I was in 10 years of domestic violence. That no one knew about. My mother, my sisters, my best friends, nobody knew about it. He went to Harvard Business School. I went to Harvard Business School. If you'd seen us, a beautiful home, a little girl, a little boy. And that's why I worked with this organization called Saving Promise, because 1 out of every 3 women has been a victim of domestic violence. 1 out of every 3. And that's those who talk about it.
Right.
Yes, so it's a big deal. So anyway, I came into Mary Kay to make some extra money. You know, just want to make some. And then I started making extra money. And then I earned the use of a car in 5 months. And then I was an executive in 14 months. And then I became $1 million director. And then I just kept promoting. So all this time, I was breaking records. And I was breaking a lot of records. And I was breaking big records. And so when someone heard my story, Mac Anderson came to me and he said, "Gloria, I want you to write a book about it." I said, no, trust and believe. I'm not writing a book. I'm dyslexic. I am not writing a book. He said, "Well, I'm dyslexic." I said, "You own a book company and you're dyslexic?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Okay, I'll write a book." I wrote a book, and the book really is about how to take a quantum leap. Okay. How to go from here to there, which is very, Shane, really interesting that you talk about the shift, because it is the shift. It's not, I remember breaking 1 record and I was going after this next level, and I kept missing it and kept missing it and kept missing it. And then I took a leadership shift.
Yep.
And nothing changed. The product didn't change. The company didn't change. The culture didn't change. Nothing changed but me.
Yep.
And I came out of the gate. I broke a huge record, and that record set a platform for my continuation on this journey called being number 1 in North America. 3.5 million women in Mary Kay, and I'm number 1. So it's very, very exciting. And that book, Quantum Leap, that they can get on my site, GloriaMayfieldBanks.com, lays out 10 specific things that people can do to cause a leap, not a climb, but a leap in their business.
Okay. What's number one?
Number one,
I don't want to give away all 10, so people have to buy your book.
Yeah. Number one is very clear. It's make a decision. And people hear that phrase, like, make a decision, make a decision, make a decision. But making a decision was for me, most important thing I learned at Harvard Business School. And the backdrop of that is, and I always tell people, watch who you talk to for 24 hours and watch how many people will say, I'll think about it, or just a minute. I'll think about it. They don't want to make a decision. But if you make a decision, if it's a bad decision, you can fix it. Yep. If it's a good decision, you're on your way. So I teach them first how to make a decision.
That's so great, because you're right. Too many people vacillate because they're afraid to get it wrong, but there really is no getting it wrong.
Right, exactly.
Right? As you said, they'll either make a mistake and they'll learn from it and do something else, or they've made a great decision and they keep going in that direction. It's
Right. And so when I'm mentoring people and I'm talking to them, it's amazing. I'm like, make a decision, say it out loud, put it on the wall. It doesn't mean that you won't waver again. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean that just because I decide not to eat sugar, that I never eat sugar again. It does mean that I've made a decision and I'm on the course to getting there. More so than if I don't know if I want. It's very, very different.
Oh, it is. I lose patience when people can't make a decision, and you know, I had an epiphany one time about a decision, which is, you know what? If I'm making a decision for the right reasons,
yes,
I can totally live with it, regardless of whether it comes up head or tails.
Right.
It's when I'm making a decision for the wrong reason.
Right.
It's hard to live with yourself, whether it succeeds or fails, to be honest, because it's hard to sleep at night if you make a decision out of integrity.
Right.
So check in with yourself and make decisions based on what you know is right in your belief system.
Yeah, it's so important. And with leaders, because you get advice from so many areas, you get advice from those who are following you, you get advice from those you're following, you're getting advice from the industry that you're working in. If you do not learn how to deal with your gut and follow what you just said, which is it's the right decision, my intuition is telling me that this is what I need to do, and no matter what it is, I can fix it, then you're going to get stuck.
Yep.
And once you're stuck, the momentum is extremely hard to create.
Yeah. All right. So I want to play off the word stuck, which is, have you ever come across people who get stuck on network marketing? That's not for me. You know, you might have been the #1 seller, but that's a fluke. Like, how do you address people that say the path you took to success isn't replicable?
Oh boy, that's a good question. I get that question all the time.
Okay.
So the first thing I always ask them is, are you lazy, crazy, or stuck? It's 1 or 2. 3. Are you lazy? Are you crazy? Or are you stuck? Because that once you identify where you are on that spectrum, you can decide what you're going to do about it. And then there's 4 different things that you have to know. This is also in my book that okay. I call it the STEM of successful management. It is skill management,
okay,
time management, emotional management, or money management. I could ask anybody who wants something and is stuck, is it you don't have the skill base?
Yep.
Is it you don't understand how to manage your time? Is it you're too emotionally caught up that's preventing you from dealing because you're so emotional, or you're too attached, or the person's, or you don't have the money structure? I tell them, until you have money, you don't have to worry about it. You need to get the money. But money management can stop people so long. So are you lazy? Are you crazy? Or are you stuck?
I love that. I am going to quote the shit out of that, if that's okay. Always full credit to you. Are you lazy? Are you crazy? Or are you stuck?
Right.
And with people who are, you know, don't have as much of a sense of humor, the STEM framework is also awesome. And I want to pause and ask people who are watching and listening right now to examine what's the stem or the root of your of your situation. Is there a decision that you're stuck on, right? Are you lacking the like, why don't you have the courage to do something? Is it you need the skill? We'll go out and get it. Right. There's so many resources to skill up in just about anything nowadays that are very cost effective.
Yeah, and Jeannie, it's really important. I don't mean to cut you off, but when you talk about the STEM, I know you'll agree with me that many times people will want it and they think it should be in front of their face and they don't go get the education. You just said it. Go get the education. Go talk. Go study. But more working does not bring it.
Right. It's got to be the right, working towards the right thing and learning the specific skills for sure.
Yes.
And I'll tell you, the time thing is huge. I work with a lot of clients who are just failing to prioritize properly because it's just too easy to slide into that habit of, you know, doing email for 4 or 5 hours a day instead of getting real stuff done.
Right.
Emotional, like, let's not even get started. That could be like a whole series of podcasts, right? Which emotion's holding us up today, right?
Exactly. I want to give them my number one emotional management tip.
Okay.
This is my number one most emotional management tip. When you're caught in your emotions, especially those that get you so frustrated that you either want to scream or you want to cry, the most important thing that you do is take a shower. Right then. Right there in the middle of whatever's going on. Take a shower right then. If you take a shower right then, that water washes all that emotion and you come out super clear. By the time you put your makeup back on or you get dressed, you usually pick an outfit that makes you feel good because you weren't feeling great when you walked in there. And for those of you who might be struggling in your relationship and you're having an argument every other day, your husband's going to say to you, why do you keep taking a shower? But I mean, it really, people stay in their emotions far too long for them to get on a course of effectiveness because they don't know how to change course.
Yep, I love that. And the shower, the metaphorical washing away of the shit.
Yes.
And clearing our heads. Right. Yeah, brilliant analogy. I love that.
Right.
All right, I have another question for you that I couldn't wait to ask. So I hear that you have shared a stage with Oprah Winfrey.
I have, twice.
Tell us, what were the circumstances and what is she like?
Yes. Okay. First,
give us the juice.
I know. I want everyone to know. Okay, so first, I was a wreck. Okay, I was like a total wreck, like for real. And of course,
did you take a shower?
Oh yeah. Oh, when I tell you, it was a lot of styling going on, like what should I wear? I mean, our head plays a lot of games with us, but she's brilliant. It was it was 2 times. One, Oprah, although she does so much, she really has a heart for women. So the first time was empowering women and girls in Northern Virginia. I was working with a woman, Laverne Chapman, who was running for office, and Oprah was with her on this run for office. So they wanted to do something that would talk to the women about how they make a difference for the country. And I spoke and told my story. She grabbed me around my wrist, around my waist. And she said, Gloria, you really got this. You really, really understand. You really understand. And of course, that kind of compliment coming from an Oprah was magnificent. It was great to see the videos that while I was talking, she was engrossed in the conversation. She loved the things that I talked about. The second time I was with Oprah, we were at a fundraising for the homeless shelter, a big homeless shelter for women in Washington, D.C. called In Street Village. Okay. And I was the one who they brought in to do the fundraising, and Oprah was the keynote speaker. So I did the whole explained what we were doing and why we were doing and why it was important. So she came up to the mic and she said, Gloria Mayfield Banks, because you asked, I am writing a check for $1 million.
So awesome.
Well, it was at that point that I understood that if we develop our courage and we build our confidence, we all can expand our choices to the point where you can make an instantaneous decision to drop $1 million.
I mean, and to Oprah, $1 million is like $10 to the rest of us.
I mean, when I tell you she shifted me, talk about a leadership shift.
Yeah.
It's not always what you learn. It's so many times what you see, what is caught.
Yeah.
That I tell people my new favorite word is enormous. Just enormous. The possibilities are enormous. Abundance is enormous. There's so many times that we get stuck in the weeds. I was mentoring someone earlier. I said, you're so stuck in the weeds. You're so stuck in the weeds. You can never create something huge and shifting if you're going to get caught in the weeds.
Absolutely. 'Cause you're right. There's so much more space out there and abundance when you get out of the weeds and into the air, into the atmosphere, above the tree line, like so many ways to say it.
Right.
Oh, so good.
It was great.
I want to ask a really serious question right now. If it's okay to go back to what you shared, and thank you for sharing about what prompted you to get out of your marriage and the courage that took. And I'm sure that there's a lot of great work that's being done out there to help women and frankly men who are in abusive relationships too, because you hear the roles reversed.
One more you hear it.
I guess where I want to take it right now is what are the parallels and best practices or nuggets that you can offer people who are maybe not being physically abused at work, but mentally and emotionally abused by a colleague or by a boss who are people who are bullies. I think I'm guessing some of the same principles could apply.
Absolutely. And it happened to me. Okay, so let me just fast forward and then backtrack. I want to fast forward to the fact that I'm celebrating 22 years of a phenomenal marriage to my second husband, who is amazing. Ken Banks is totally successful, totally romantic, totally phenomenal, totally strong, totally all those things that I thought maybe would not come for me because of my first journey. And I tell people that it's important, not because it's my story, but it's important that you can always recreate the story.
Yes.
One time when I was in my employer job, my boss, he was so frustrated with the fact that my income was strong, that my confidence was strong. He was so uncomfortable with it. He wanted me to be uncomfortable with it. So one time I was in the office talking to him and he got me so mad. I started crying. I could feel the tears in my eyes. I wished I had a shower at the time.
Yeah.
But my point was, it was a form of abuse because he just kept coming at me. Nothing was good enough. He couldn't even see an arena where, why does she make so much money? Why is she so confident? Why is she so strong? He couldn't see that. Okay, so I want to tell people that the first thing is that you have to know that you are not meant for that environment. You have to already know that God did not intend for you to live in an uncomfortable environment where you are kept in the dark, or you feel dark, or you're never supposed to be in an environment where the worst of you is always at the surface. Mm-hmm. And the best of you is always so far below the surface, you can never enjoy it. If you're in that environment, you have to look around, because when you're in that environment, they do whatever they can to steal from you the things that could provide a way out. They turn off the light. They take away your confidence. They cut off your relationships. They unravel things that give you joy. They take you away from your innate ability to create a different world for yourself. So if you're not sure you're in that environment, you look for those things, because once you look for them, they will start to become very obvious to you. And the third thing I want to make sure that they all know is that you can do something about it.
Yeah.
The majority of the people who stay in those places have this conversation. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do?
Yep.
And I always tell people that people are here to help you, but you have to ask for help.
Yeah. Right. Crazy, lazy, or stuck.
Right. Exactly. I mean, so true. You have to raise your hand and say, I'm in this situation. I'm not sure how to get out of this situation, but what I do know is that I don't belong here, and I will not sustain this situation. You only live once. That's a fact. So it may not be easy, but it is required.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to be your own advocate, and
Right.
your own advocate, as you said, often entails asking for help.
Right.
Because people want to give it.
Yes.
And to your story, which breaks my heart, like, people don't know what they don't know. They see the big house and the white picket fence and the 2.3 kids and the dog, right? And they think everything is all, smiles and rainbows and butterflies.
Right.
So who would have even known to offer you help unless you had asked?
I heard someone say this today. It all began with the things you've never seen. All of us started a journey of success behind the scenes of what people see.
Right.
Until you become successful. And then it's like, wow. But the nights, Shani, that you spent thinking, should it be leadership shifting, or should it be shifting leadership? It's just like, what should it be?
Yeah,
what should
exactly.
it be? What should the brand be? When should I start the Facebook? How many emails? Not enough emails. Should I ask for their email address? Should I not? It's just this, that. Is my message clear? Is my message resident? Does it affect more than one? I mean, it's just all these, but no one is there. That's when you're in the silence. When you come out to the light, when it's successful, is when everybody sees the journey.
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, you've been incredibly successful, and lots of people are inspired by your journey. So tell us more about what you're up to now in your fantastic jewelry. And for those of you who are listening and not watching, I'm having jewelry envy right now.
That is so funny. It was so funny. I have a home-based business, and I was getting dressed. I was like, is this necklace too much? And then I said to myself, Gloria, you're known as Mrs. Extra, okay? You're known as Mrs. Extra, and being Mrs. Extra is okay. And one of the things is knowing who you are. Shani, I'm excited that you asked that question, because I have a phenomenal private Facebook group only for women who want to be stronger, smarter, and more successful. It's called the Power Huddle. So I love people who share that they want to be stronger, smarter, and more successful about whatever journey they're on. Okay. I have a show called Super Bad All Day Long. On my Facebook page, it's Wednesday, 12 o'clock. And it is designed as a master class specifically for people who want to be unapologetically powerful. The only way you have a movement is to first stand up and say, take me as I am, as I get better. Unapologetically powerful. They can follow me on Instagram, which is my new social media love, at Gloria Banks. At Gloria Banks, and of course I'm on Facebook there at Gloria Mayfield Banks. But all of it can be found on my website, GloriaMayfieldBanks.com. And I am not afraid to say that I love to connect with people. If I get their email address, if there's something I connect that makes a difference for you, like a relationship with Shani, then phenomenal. If it's not for you, you can certainly let me know that as well. But it's really important that we understand that this connection, Shani and Gloria, this connection will mean something to someone we may never hear about. And for your listeners, their leadership shift will mean something to people they may never hear about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And your messaging to me is so on point with culture. And so much of what we've talked about is what's the culture you want to create for your own life, right?
Yes.
Do you want to have a culture in your head of confidence or a culture in your head of stuck?
Right. Right. Exactly. Exactly. When I talk about Women Do It Better, which is the name of my podcast, and I talk about Women Do It Better, Shani, this is not a comparison of men and women. It is teaching us that what gifts and talents we have been given to us to use, to bless, to impact, and to increase the world. And until you know what your unique gifts are and how to deliver them unapologetically, that you need to know you and we have skills that are so specific to us and so impactful that when we're in that conversation, you become stronger because of it.
Yes, and being surrounded by like-minded people,
Yes.
whether it be your real friends or family, or just by listening to certain thought leaders' podcasts or Facebook Lives or looking at their Instagram feeds, that is what feeds our and nourishes our souls and our confidence.
Right.
And I thank you for sharing all of your wisdom today, because I'll tell you, one of my number one messages when I go into huge organizations about leadership is starts with you and you and you and you, because we're all individuals that collectively make an organization. And the gems that you shared with us today, from copy the right cat to asking yourself if you're lazy, crazy, or stuck, and then doing something about it, and making a decision, right? All so important at the individual, team, and organizational level.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
thank you so much for sharing your journey, and the good, bad, and the ugly, because that's what makes us human, right? The vulnerability and the
Yes. I believe that we all have a story. Every single person has a story, but not everyone has created their platform to tell the story. And once they create the platform to tell the story, they will truly find out how impactful their story is. And I love the way you said it, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah. But you're beautiful.
Thank you. And you are too. Very excited to be on here with you.
Thank you. And Leadershifters, thank you for joining us today. I hope you got as much out of this as I did. You probably saw me scribbling down so many notes about STEM and the it factor and all that good stuff. Totally inspiring story, and it was my pleasure to have Gloria Mayfield Banks on our show today. Gloria and Leadershifters, thank you. Until next time.
Thank you.